What's good, guys? It's Yoshiken. You already know, it's time to talk about ReZero and Attack on Titan's daughter, also known as Vivy Fluorite ice song, and how the meaning of purpose is tied with everything in the anime. And to get this out of the way, watch the whole thing, guys. Trust me, you will not regret it. And if you do like the video, please like, subscribe if you're new, and tell me in the comments your favorite parts. Lastly, share the video to someone who you think will enjoy it as well. This is pretty good. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And thanks for almost 1,000 subscribers, guys. I love you. Alrighty then, without further ado, let's get into the details of why Vivy Fluorite Ice Song is an amazing anime. Vivy immediately kicks everything off with a very unsettling scene at the beginning, with us watching in a way that seemed like a recording. Before that though, we notice how in the very beginning, Vivy first states her mission, to make everyone happy with her singing. This is a very important element to her character, as we get to find out later on in the anime. Since it's Wit Studio, the visuals are obviously insane. Like, these seriously went ham with this anime. Okay, but back to the first scene. Right off the bat, the viewer knows that the anime's premise is related to AI versus humanity, which isn't really done much in anime. Really keeps reminding us of how dangerous technology could be and is in the present moment. It's crazy to think that we're aware of this problem and yet we haven't done much to solve it. But the anime's final message hits the viewer way harder than expected. More on that in a bit. We see an idol singing in the main stage, a place that's mentioned over and over again by Vivy, and we see her singing a song as the war between humans and AI starts to break out. The very first bit of foreshadowing. Since the song was a cheery one, it made these scenes super creepy. And then it cuts to a scientist struggling to find his way to find the computer, Matsumoto. His character introduction was mysterious, but we know that he's an important character since he chose Vivy to go save the future. The reasoning we get for this at first is that Vivy, or Diva, was the first autonomous AI, making us think that that's the sole reason for her being chosen. And man, the mystery behind all of the first scene is just insane direction. Especially when Vivy returns to the past and we see a timer in the corner of the screen. When the timer reaches 0, we finally get to see everything in full screen. A thing that should be essential in fiction, especially if it's new, is a scene like this, grabbing the viewer's attention in so many ways, visually and narratively. Immediately hooks you into the premise of the anime. Damn it, Nagatsuki, stop being such a god, bro! Were you instantly hooked on the first scene or not? Tell me down in the comments. Alrighty, but with the first scene out of the way, we get to see our MC more closely. First thing we can think is, yep, this bitch is definitely an idol, with how she's dressed and the color of her hair. Her hair and eyes being this electric blue, or as I'll talk more in a bit, the color of the stone, fluorite. This blue could be seen as both calm and outgoing, something we see in Vivy's character now and even more later on. Paired with her white clothes, we get a sense of a character that has pure intentions in wanting to make people happy and save the world. Basically, she's trying to steal my flow, with her first performance being completely empty. We get to feel how it's like for an unknown artist to get up on stage in their first periods of growth. But we see one girl that approaches her and tells her that she wants others to notice her and hear her singing. With this, she gives her a teddy bear. What? This girl becomes an impactful moment in the beginning and in the end of the anime. Vivy's first fan was something that was enticed to her very soul. What does it mean to put your heart into something? This question is a big element in her character, since she asks the question over and over again, trying to find answers from different people. With the teddy bear now in play, a strangely unique character begins talking and tells Vivy about what's going down in the future. So, let's talk about that.
あなたの100年の旅が始まるんです。待ってくれ、エヴァ。なんと色だ。
Matsumoto doesn't hold back at all with his introduction. He's like, okay, bitch, we gotta work together to save the world from... And poor Vivy had to deal with a possessed teddy bear. I mean, sure, it's the future, but bro, that shit's creepy. We can see that Matsumoto always speaks in a way that seems like he's in a hurry. In a way that we have to pause to see what the he says sometimes. Subtly, it gives us a feeling of imminent doom consistently, having no room to breathe even if everything seems okay. This is further supported with how the anime deals with time skips, which is amazing, by the way. I'll talk about that in just a bit. Vivy keeps pushing him away, but he keeps repeating that it's his mission to do the Singularity Project with her, giving us a sense of how AI solely live to fulfill their given purpose. Vivy's first mission really gave the atmosphere I mentioned before, imminent doom. A confirmation that what we saw in the very beginning will happen. When she saved the guy who was supposedly the first link to cause the war, everything just kicks straight to 100. We then see how there's this organization called Toke. Very cool name, bro. And we see that they're trying to kill the guy we saw before. It makes sense that a group like Toke existed right in the very beginning, since anyone would be fishy about AIs having rights and stuff. Animation was godlike, and it's when we first see Vivy in action. We also get introduced to a character she saves that shows up later on. Vivy goes on to tell the scientist, it's not how long you live, it's how you continue to live. And this changed him for the better. A nice quote that tells the viewer that no matter your age, it won't do you any good to mourn about how old you may be. It's how you continue going afterwards. We then see how Matsumoto stops Vivy from preventing a plane crash due to the possibility of a butterfly effect. This tells us how strict Matsumoto's instructions were in regards to interfering with the past. Usually, when any type of fiction deals with time, there's always some sort of big plot hole. But Vivy is doing it in a way that's pretty believable because of the things they tell us in the anime. Anyways, now we get into the first time skip, which I want to mention again that it works so well to keep the tension in the atmosphere going, having no room to breathe even if it's been years for them. The Sunrise Hotel incident was an interesting one. I loved the whole, wow, a hotel in space, guys, as well. But here we get to see how Toke was deliberately trying to sabotage the hotel in order to make it look like it was an AI's job. Supposedly another link that caused the war. We finally get to see other AIs that don't look like nightmare fuel. And apparently, Madoka got reincarnated, guys. And fast forward a bit, we get to see a bit of action and see the Estella and her sister's past and their purpose as an AI. And a super nice soundtrack. Estella helped Vivy with growing her audience and be more passionate about her singing when she found out that Estella just wanted to make her guests happy. When the whole Sunrise Hotel incident was over, and we see how the guy Vivy saved years ago appears once again being involved in the incident and afterwards surviving. The opening of the series was revealed in a very clever way. We had no opening for the first 3 episodes, and then we finally get to see it in the end of episode 4. And right after, the next episode opens up with Vivy in a concert, a hit from many years ago, which subtly tells us how much time has passed since the last episode. Why are you going so ham-wit? The next mission dealt with the first marriage between AI and humans, which led to a whole bunch of shit happening. Matsumoto also got a visual upgrade, subtly telling us how technology keeps advancing within the years. Fun fact, his color palette is the same as Vivy, so they're matching. Oh my god! Then we see that Grace, the human AI's wife, could you imagine, bro? Was turned into the core of the island run purely by AIs. And he wanted to save her memories into a duplicate. The opening song, Sing My Pleasure, gets a lot more meaning with this mission, as we see the song having an important meaning towards the scientists and Grace. In this timeline, we see how the AIs have been getting more developed in contrast with the original, and we see how the island was years ahead. We then know how the island is fucking controlled by Grace, and see how the bootleg R2-D2 is reflected upon what she learned, mainly being the surprise element. This mission is a very unfortunate one, a case of forbidden love between the two, their only connection being the song from Diva. Also, why the fuck does Matsumoto look like that one Mario Sunshine level? We got a remix of the opening, which, oh my god, it f***ing slaps. And finally, after an amazing scene, Vivy liberates Grace. And we later on get to know that Sing My Pleasure was Grace to the scientist. After the destruction of the island, we see how the scientist goes back to the church they were married in and goes on and kills himself. Seeing this made Vivy commit the same act. This is still confusing to me, but I think that Vivy felt like she failed him and decided to do the same. I'm probably wrong though, so tell me what you guys think in the comments below. We actually see Matsumoto show some humanity towards Vivy when she does this, saying after finally beginning to accept you as my partner, he finds her dead. It's no surprise that after this, Matsumoto completely disregarded Vivy, because in the island, Vivy finally accepted that she was going to do the Singularity Project, but then kills herself. Another time skip goes on and Vivy seems completely different. Like, geez, this bitch got a sassiness update or some shit. Like I mentioned earlier with the colors, this new personality of Diva actually fits her look very well, fitting both the introverted Vivy and the extroverted Diva. We see how Diva forgot the Singularity Project and sung for years and years, fulfilling her original mission. Another thing to note is that Diva got a lot of popularity in this timeline, whereas in the original, she never went anywhere according to Matsumoto. And this is the last time I'm mentioning this, I promise. But why the f does this anime look so damn good, bro? We see how the next mission deals with an AI killing herself, this AI being an idol like Diva. Throughout multiple missions, we see the whole theater mode thing. Again, as if we were watching a recording. Diva's new personality literally made her look like someone we've never seen before. The whole episode went with this vibe, up until the end of the episode where Matsumoto finally popped up. Matsumoto seemed to be acting like nothing happened, but in a way that he seemed disappointed in Vivy because of what I mentioned before. Diva pressures Matsumoto in telling her who she was before, and he was very persistent in doing the rest of the project himself. What a tsundere, am I right? And then, we get to see the guy Vivy saved way back then come back as an AI. What the fuck? And this person was the one triggering Diva's curiosity without her knowing who he even is. Fast forward a bit, and we see Diva convince Matsumoto into tell her who she is, leading them to work on preventing Ophelia's suicide. We see the relationship Ophelia had with her foreign speaker, and how he took over her body to quote-unquote accomplish her goals of becoming a well-known idol. We see how the guy who turned AI was linked to all of this, and even see that his hacking even fooled Matsumoto. This tells us how technology is finally catching up to him in comparison to the beginning where he was insanely advanced. Kakitani was the one who trapped Diva and successfully installed a personality termination program. Fights happen, boom, boom! And we see how Antonio and Ophelia's feelings were mutual in the sense of living for each other and dying shortly afterwards. It was a super touching scene. Kakitani also gets defeated, and then afterwards gets questioned in how he knew about the Singularity Project, in which he responds with, "I got a revelation from the heavens." A cute little foreshadow there. We also get a little bit of backstory with Kakitani and see how his relationship with his AI teacher and his death made him the way he is. But the scene after this was extremely good. Diva's termination inside the archive was done excellently with the shot of Vivy hiding behind a door while Diva was in the usual place of the archive. Diva says her goodbyes to Vivy and tells her that it's all on you now, as Diva was performing her final song, which if you read the lyrics, is about her and Vivy. This scene is a nice way of telling the viewer that we all might have sides that we dislike or even hate, but we eventually have to accept them as a part of us. Music is a big element in this anime. Every single song that's played has meaning behind the various scenes we see. The video would be way too long if I got into every song, but I'll obviously get into the one that's in the title of the anime. With the disappearance of Diva, Vivy has retired from singing as she has forgotten what it's like to sing. When this happened, it really gave the atmosphere this feeling of they did it. Seeing Vivy in her spot at the museum, with Matsumoto coming back to her year after year on the day they met. But then, a child by the name of Osamu starts to appear in front of Vivy, forming a relationship with her as time goes on. Vivy began writing her own song as she tried to remember what it was like to sing, taking years to make progress. This gave us a what's next with Vivy, finding purpose after accomplishing your original goal. I adore how the anime did this. They used the metronome as a transition to show scenes of Osamu growing up and Vivy writing her song, telling us how long she's taking to make just a bit of progress. Matsumoto points this out when he visits her, but if you think about it, it really makes sense why she takes so long. Simply put, she's an AI, and this song is the first action of an AI doing something that they're not programmed to do. More on this later. Osamu is later revealed to be Matsumoto, the scientist we saw in the very first episode, and how the anime transitioned this shit was As time went on, Osamu was cheering Vivy on with what she was doing, updating her with what's been going on in his life. And one day, everything just suddenly... The war began. The song the AIs were singing as they were killing everyone was creepy as f***, and perfect to complement what just happened. Matsumoto tells Vivy that the mission has failed. It immediately gives the viewer a sense of despair. Ever since the first episode, we've been seeing them try to prevent this, and it all looked like they actually prevented it. But it all went back to what we saw in the first episode. Something that I'd like to point out is how every single link that caused the war had to do with the AIs becoming more and more human. All of which slowly built up to the grand finale of the AIs completely replacing humans. I don't know about you guys, but I was f***ing shocked that this happened. I honestly thought that the anime was gonna end with, "Yay, we prevented the apocalypse! Cue the opening song!" type of ending. But having everything feel like it was for nothing was so unpredictably amazing. Especially if you think about the things we saw as a prelude before the main events. I mean, 10 out of 13 episodes, guys! This is supported by the very moment we see Vivy back at the museum like we saw her in the first episode, subtly telling us that the result was going to be the same rather than, ho! What a coincidence! Vivy and Matsumoto go on to save Osamu, which was preparing to send Vivy back in the past again. After this, they went to look for Toke to think about what the f they were gonna do. And then they find the group's current leader, Yugo's granddaughter. This man has easily been the biggest change that Vivy caused by saving him in one of the first episodes. appearing a lot as an antagonist throughout different times, to having his family help them stop the AIs. In other words, this man was woke. Elizabeth's clone popped up as well, and they began strategizing on what they could do to save the world. And shortly afterwards, we get to see the real antagonist behind everything. Archive. What the fuck? Out of all people, I really didn't expect Archive to be the antagonist. But it all makes sense. From the very beginning, Archive has been a character that usually would just be put by the side. But after the reveal, it all makes sense how it's the one pulling all the strings. Archive made sure that the revisions made by the Singularity Project didn't stray too far from human destruction. Right after, we see how the satellites are going to fall on Earth and essentially end humanity. So our characters had to act on a whim. Osamu notices Vivy acting weird and tells Matsumoto and plans something. After a few fight scenes and the overall despair that we see in different scenes, we see how Vivy was unable to save humanity, seeing absolutely every single bit of the destruction that occurred. Again, there was so much despair in the air. It was genuinely crushing to see them fail. This right here made me think that it was all going to end with a bad ending, which wouldn't have been bad at all. I f***ing loved those. But Matsumoto seemed to be nonchalant about the situation. I mean, sure, he's a robot, but you think he'd be freaking the f*** out more. Matsumoto and Vivy had a sweet conversation though. As Vivy was beating herself up for not being able to save everyone, Matsumoto tells her that only she could have been his partner throughout everything. Vivy struggled with finding purpose, with asking everyone since the very first Singularity point, what does it mean to put your heart into something? And we see how the different characters give their own respective answers. He then tells her his opinion on the heart and tells her that it's something that you yourself define. With this, Vivy began thinking on the moments she made people happy, beginning to understand what the heart means. And that's when we see that Osamu was going to send Vivy back one last time, sacrificing himself along the way now that his family is gone. We see Vivy go back the moment the war started and updated Matsumoto, going straight to Toge to tell them about their plan. They talk, and Vivy tells them how she's a double time traveler, and tells her that she knows a way to shut all of the AIs down. Vivy needed to sing her song to the world in order to stop human extinction. Matsumoto and the others go on to stop the satellites from crashing, and Vivy goes to where it all began, the main stage. Before going there, we see her assistant appear and try to convince her that she shouldn't do this, even appearing as her first fan. But to this, she didn't change her mind. After consistently asking other people and AIs the same question, what does it mean to put your heart into something? This question, Vivy's search for purpose, was all for her mission of making people happy with her singing. She finally realized what the heart meant. What putting your heart into something means to her. It was her memories, her song, her experiences. Vivy finally found her true mission. The real purpose of making everyone happy by singing was. And with this, we see her set up videos about the Singularity Project and start to prepare in the main stage. As it's pretty self-explanatory, the lyrics of the song greatly describes her experiences and knowledge that she acquired from the Singularity Project. With scenes of Matsumoto going up the tower to stop the satellites, Vivy continues to sing the song as the AIs slowly begin shutting down. Vivy was able to sing her heart out. Matsumoto was barely able to stop the satellites, sacrificing himself to stop one that was going to fall. And suddenly, right before Vivy finishes the song, she falls down and the song cuts. What an amazing ending scene to the anime. being the end of the beginning with the AIs shutting down. She was able to sing the song because she was in the main stage, a place where she'd always strived to be in since the very beginning, and the place where she felt comfortable to perform in. This final scene was foreshadowed right in the very first episode, with Vivy walking through the hallway and stating her mission, as well as the AI we saw singing a song that I mentioned earlier. We also see how the AI in episode 11 is singing the song Vivy wrote, whereas in episode 1, it was just a random song. And to end off the video, it's incredible how much a 13-episode series can offer. And Vivy is one that, without a doubt, did that exceptionally. Archive told Vivy that it would respect her final decision, as Vivy was somewhat idolized because she was the first autonomous AI, her song being what Archive chose the AIs to sing, being the very first instance of an AI doing something out of their own will, in a way being their hope. The song was incredible, being named Fluorite Eyes, and how it was both creepy when the AI sung and sad when Vivy sung it. The name clearly comes from what this song is to her. Seeing the Singularity Project from her perspective or eyes, Fluorite Eyes might mean artificial eyes in a way, being the same color as her hair and stuff as I mentioned before. There are many moments in the anime where Vivy's eyes are emphasized, building up to what the final song means, supporting the Fluorite Eyes name. And since fluorite is a gemstone, it could signify how special her heart or memories are to her. In this specific part of the song, even if all my memories were to be lost and my eyes extinguished, I am right here. Vivy talks about losing her memories and accepting her fate, even if she has to give up her heart. Because even if she's gone, her song was able to save the world. If you think about it, the singularity points might refer to the common thing a lot of people do, which is to think, if I could go back and fix this in my life, I would. But the Singularity Project puts us in a perspective that those things are not necessarily going to fix everything, and that the roots of it all might be completely out of our control, just like how Archive was the real cause to the war. Although 10 episodes, 100 years might have seemed like it was for nothing, it absolutely was not. This is supported with this part of the song. The warmth of a gentle touch, or even the smallest bit of courage. The fact that I live changes the future little by little. The gentle touch being Osamu's daughter, Luna, grabbing her finger and giving her inspiration, as well as Matsumoto giving her courage when the satellites fell. And finally, the fact that she lived through the events of the project changed things bit by bit, with Kakitani's existence in this timeline and her memories in general, good and bad. These things are what shaped Vivy into who she is. Without these, Vivy could not have been able to make the final song and save humanity. Finally, at the very final cutscene, we see Matsumoto and Vivy without her memories, presumably in a world where AIs and humans live together in harmony. And Vivy and Matsumoto are seen as the saviors. Throughout all the falls and sacrifices they had along the way, they successfully accomplished their 100-year mission. This message definitely relates to life. Many moments where we might think, all of that was for nothing, man. I wasted my time. Whether it's a lot of time or dumb little moments, this way of thinking is not true at all. Nothing is wasted, guys. It's these moments, good and bad, that shape us into who we are, our unique personalities, and lastly, our hearts. And with that, we define our own purpose. Nobody else does. Never forget that. Stay cringy, guys.